Recruiting rankings are one thing. Getting on the field as a true freshman at Michigan is another. Today, we're ranking the top 10 freshmen most likely to play in 2026. Few surprises did make the list, so let's get right to it right here on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Tuesday. We're back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hall, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today's sports media group. We're going to do the whole show doing a top 10 ranking breakdown. So we'll do the first 3 in segment 1, then the middle 4, and then the top 3. I do want to give you a little bit of a disclaimer here. This is not an exact science. This was all the feels to some degree here. I think the top 3, I mean, it's pretty close, but nonetheless, I did factor into account a bit of the depth at the positions, right? This isn't just talent. This isn't just like who's the top 10 recruits that Michigan has. What are the actual chances that these guys see the field with any kind of really meaningful time? So let's start in the bottom 3, which is not even the bottom 3 overall. It's just the bottom 3 of our top 10, right? Like there's some 25-ish, 26, 28. I have no idea how many commits they brought in anymore. But this is the top 10 of that. And honestly, I cheated. It's kind of 11, to be honest. But all right, number 10. This is or 11, depending on how you want to look at it. It's the Ramiz Herrick victory pick. That's the best name I can come up with it for. Yeah, I've got quarterback Tommy Carr as my number 10 pick. Now, after everything I've said for how long I've said it, that seems like that's a weird place for me to even have him in the list. But I cannot deny, obviously, that A, things can go wrong, or B, even for him, things can go incredibly right. Now, chances of him seeing like actual starting time, barring an injury, to Bryce Underwood is unlikely. And I don't think that I think there's only like one of these, maybe 2 of these players that I think you will likely see as a starter at any point in time this year. I would think, barring complete cataclysm hits Ann Arbor. But Tommy Carr is probably going to end up being 3rd on the quarterback depth chart. I think we'll see him probably for 4 games regardless. I think we'll definitely see him working his way in at times, as in some garbage time scenarios if they are able to get that, especially in the week 1 and week 3 non-conference games. But I think he's capable, and I think we will see him. The question just essentially is how much, right? Because if Michigan kind of gets back to like some Jim Harbaugh years, you might not be seeing Bryce Underwood in the second half, right? You might end up only seeing Braden Fowler, Nicolosi, and Tommy Carr. So he makes the list, but I don't have him any higher than 10. Could he end up playing a heck of a lot more than I'm estimating? It's possible, but again, I know this angers a certain sect of you. Bryce Underwood is the starter. There's been no matter how much post-spring game wishcasting you might do, that's not changing, right? And it's no matter what Eric Weddle said, the likelihood of that changing in the season is very, very, very slim. It's not none, but it's very slim. All right, number 9. I've got safety Jordan Deck. He, I thought, looked very good in what we saw in the spring game. His impediment to getting on the field is I've got a long list of other players ahead of him. But I think if this was one of those types of years where Michigan had maybe 2 guys and you're like, a bunch of others was kind of like, I don't know, then I think it could certainly look a little bit different. But I could see him being one of those guys where like, kind of like, I understand it's different staff, but like last year, there were points when they hadn't yet really fully put New Mexico away, where we're seeing, this isn't safety, but like we're seeing Jaden Sanders, we're seeing Elijah Dotson, we're seeing Chase Taylor. And it's kind of like, what's going on here? I mean, more second half guys, but still, I could see the same with Jordan Deck. As a matter of fact, I kind of feel like I probably should have moved him up a little bit higher based off of that, because like the vibes are getting higher the more I'm talking about him at the moment. But I think that the Frisco, Texas, former Baylor commit, I just think that he's going to end up, number one, I think he's going to be really, really good in a winged helmet. Number two, I think that you're going to end up seeing him burn his red shirt this year. That's just a gut feeling. Again, to differentiate, it's not the Sam Webb gut feeling. I tell you a little bit more directly when I'm hearing something. I mean, Sam's telling you directly too. Like, that's not a knock on Sam. I'm just trying to delineate between our idioms here. So I got Jordan Deck, number 9. Number 8, this is kind of a break glass in case of emergency, but at the same time, like, you're always going to have some semblance of emergency up front on the offensive line. So I think that Malachi Lee, the offensive tackle, would have had a little bit of an easier way in if he would have enrolled early, but he did not. So he's a summer enrollee. And I think that he's going to end up seeing some time. Because, again, they got that Rhino position, that 6th position. And there's almost always injuries along the offensive line. So with that, I think that you're going to end up seeing him at some point. I mean, I think you'll see him on special teams. I think he's going to, I don't know if he'll, it's hard for me to just predict a guy to burn his red shirt, but he's the type where I just feel like, because he already at the spring game looked like an absolute behemoth. He looked like an absolute monster. The last time I saw him was 2024 when he came and visited for the USC game. And then to see him at the spring game, like it's like he doubled in size. He looks massive. And, having seen the film and everything, he's really, really good. So I think you're going to end up seeing some Malachi Lee this year. It's offensive line and defensive line are hard people to throw on this list, the freshmen to see the light of day, but it happens. I mean, fewer freshmen on the offensive line than the defensive line, but it happens. Like almost every year you see somebody kind of emerge. And with that, I've got another lineman to start us off in segment 2. Let's get to that here in just a moment. But before we do, patio season is here, and there's nothing better than having an outdoor space that feels comfortable, functional, and gets used. Whether it's a backyard patio, balcony, or deck, the right setup can completely change how you spend your time at home. That's where Wayfair comes in, from outdoor seating and patio lighting to grills, rugs, decor, and storage. Wayfair is a one-stop shop for creating an outdoor space that fits your style and your budget. Plus, with over 20 million 5-star reviews and Wayfair verified products, it's easy to shop with confidence. Before, my patio was basically just a space that I walked past. I only had a slab out there, and then there wasn't really anything comfortable to sit, so it just didn't get used. But now I've got a whole section out there. It's beautiful. Love being able to spend time out there. I need to still clean it up for this season, but still, regardless, Wayfair made that possible. Patio season is here, and these deals won't last. Head to wayfair.com right now and get your outdoor space ready for way less. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Get your daily Michigan fix completely ad-free by joining the Everydayer Club today. Start your 7-day free trial right now and get closer to your team without the interruptions. Click the link in the show notes or go to lockedonwolverines.supercast.com to claim your free trial. All right. 4-star wide receiver Amari Patterson has canceled his official visit to Florida and will visit South Carolina. That has nothing to do with you. All right. Let's get to the middle of the top 10. At number 7, I have Alistair Vallejo, defensive tackle. I decided to only put one in there. I think if I was to be honest, I mean, I could probably make this a 12-person list and kind of split Alistair and Titan Davis, neither of whom are early enrollees. both look ready to play. So both have recently arrived. They're going to have to go through their paces, but like we all know that the comp and the analog to Alistair is Mason Graham. Mason Graham was also not an early enrollee, memory serves, and still found himself on the field pretty early. Similar skill set, the wrestling and all of that, like just multi-sport athlete. I just think that you're going to see this guy. I just think he's going to be too good. Depth will be a slight concern, but ultimately, like, I still think that they're going to find a way to get him out on the field. He's just one of those dudes, right? And there's a reason why Notre Dame was pushing as hard as they were. I just think that he's going to be a guy that, you know, maybe it's only second half or like it starts out that way. And then once he gets a little bit of a taste, like say against Western Michigan, he gets that taste. And then I think that maybe not like against Oklahoma in real time, but like maybe by Indiana, maybe by Penn State, you might see kind of that same thing. Like, oh, he's out there on a fourth down. Oh, okay. I just think he's got that type of talent. I think he's going to show enough where they're going to be like, we can win with this guy. It's kind of like what Kyle Whittingham said. And this is kind of overarching for the entire show. It's like, we are no longer in a situation where it's like we're allowed to take time. We know that we need to win now. We need to make everything digestible as quickly as possible. And I think when you take away a little bit of the necessity for the strength and conditioning, like I just think like Alistair Vallejo is one where you can look at and say, he's got enough strength and conditioning. Like, yeah, he'll go through summer conditioning, but like, did he need also spring conditioning? I don't know that, or sorry, winter conditioning. I don't know that he did in order to see the field in year one. Still will pay dividends down the line, but still. Number 6, I really wanted to put another linebacker on this list as well. I kind of thought about throwing Aiden Reeder on the list, but I'm going with Markel Dabney because, again, the path to seeing playing time is not that high. So I think we can absolutely see Markel Dabney find his way on the field. He's a guy that we heard his name quite often over the course of the spring. The 3-star from Huguenot, Virginia, I think was a little underrated as a player. I thought he looked good in the spring game. He's a name that we kept on hearing. Just kind of, I don't know if he'll have that same upside or trajectory as Chase Taylor. I don't know that he was I didn't get the same type of, from the same like recruiting people. I'm talking within the program. I did not get the same kind of like jaw on the floor type of thing that I got when they talked about Chase Taylor before he committed about Markel Dabney. But still, I do think that he is someone that, like, we almost always see true freshman linebackers at some point. So if I was to pick one, it would be him. Again, his name was mentioned a lot. I don't have a lot to say about him, it turns out. So that's where we are with number 6. I've got Markel Dabney, the 3-star from Virginia, early enrollee that gives him an opportunity. Out of these 4 in this middle section, 2 of them are early enrollees, 2 of them aren't. Whereas in like the earlier section, the section before, we had 1 non-early enrollee. We actually overall have what? I'm just looking at the list. 3 players who aren't early enrollees. It just gives you such a leg up to be an early enrollee. But that's where we get to our final summer arrival. Some of you are going to think this is far too low for this player. However, I have reasons. And I think that number 5, this is somewhat of the demarcation line anyhow, because I think you're kind of at a spot now where you're probably going to see the rest of the list, right, of these freshmen. And I've got edge rusher Carter Meadows, the 5-star, because we've talked about, I do not think that, or I should say more so, I do think that usually when you get a 5-star, it's like a first-round NFL draft pick, right? Like, you expect to see them straight away. I think with Carter Meadows, because they already have a 5-man rotation that we can name at this point, right? John Henry Daly, assuming he is healthy, doesn't even have to be at full health, but healthy enough to play. I think he'll be at full health, though. Dom Nichols, Cam Brandt, Nate Marshall, Lugard Adekpayi. Those are a lot of names to climb above. Now, he doesn't have to climb above all of them. You can just be the sixth guy, right? Like they can go 3 pairs. But I absolutely think you're going to end up seeing Carter Meadows. Now, he is a little bit undersized for where you would expect him to eventually be. I believe he's at like 235 pounds. I don't know if that's changed since the last weight update. I don't know how much that will change between now and the time that the season starts. He could be 250, 245, 255. I'm not really sure. But you would expect generally an edge rusher to just have a little bit more meat on the bone. So I think that you will see him kind of like you saw Nate Marshall. Nate Marshall was kind of in a not completely similar spot because he didn't enroll early either, but like I think he was a little bit bigger, but kind of at the time of his commitment was not. But I think you'll definitely see Carter Meadows this year. I don't think there's a question. I just don't think that he's going to be as much in rotation as probably the top 4, because I just think that he's just got a more difficult depth chart to kind of climb ahead of, even if he kind of just jumps in at number 6. But there's still other players. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but there's still other edge rushers who could be kind of in the mix. Okay. All right. Number 4, I've got wide receiver Travis Johnson. Early enrollee. He was out there. I think he's more kind of like, could he jump ahead of a Channing Goodwin? Can he jump ahead of, which that's, I think, that's easier said than done type of task. But can he jump ahead of Jacob Washington? We still haven't seen anything of Jacob Washington. Similar size. I think Jacob's a little bit taller. But the speed, the senior tape, every week was every week was a highlight reel for Travis Johnson. Savion Hyder was singing his praises post the spring game, being like he's the fastest player on the team. He's a guy that I think, like, if another freshman was to see the field, it would be him. I think that there's more than that, but I think we'll absolutely see him, even though the typical year 1 wide receiver caveats tend to apply, right? Not always, obviously. Andrew Marsh, we saw plenty, but Andrew Marsh wasn't being spoken of as much this time last year. He was going into the spring game, or at least into spring ball, and then Jamar Browder was the guy. And then we just didn't really see Jamar Browder. So, Travis Johnson's got to beat out a lot of these other guys to see the field regularly. But I do think, he's got a skill set and capability that is going to make Jason Beck be like, we got to get this guy out there one way or another. So I do think we'll see him. Will we see him beyond 4 games? I'm not sure, but I think we'll see him. All right, we've got the top 3 coming up. We're going to get to them here in just a moment. All right, the top 3, although I cheated in the top 4, because at number 3, I couldn't decide, and I didn't want to put another one further down the list. Both were named often in spring ball. Both, I thought, looked decent. Not just decent, good, very good in the spring game. I can't really differentiate them in my mind, though, which I think is a pretty normal thing at this point in their careers. And that's that, but they both have a true opportunity to get out there, because the depth chart is absolutely amenable. It is easily the most amenable probably part of the entire team. And that's cornerbacks, Ernest Nunley and Jamarion Vincent, who I often forget about, because even yesterday I said something about cornerbacks, young cornerbacks on the team, when we were talking about, when we were going through the position groups. Just completely blank on them. And then I'm like, oh, right. Yes, they both got mentions. They both looked good. I remember a couple plays for each of them being like, oh, okay. So, I think that you're going to see one or both of them. That's why I have them both at 3, because again, I cannot differentiate. It's another position group. We tend to see freshmen. Last year, Jaden Sanders started games. Elijah Dotson was out there with time on task like a starter. And the depth chart with both of those guys gone hasn't really changed, because like what we went into the season last year, we thought it was going to be Zeke Berry, Jair Hill, and Shamari Earls, then maybe Josiah Edmond, and then, like that was it. It's the same thing as it was last year, at least as far as we can tell. So, I think we'll definitely see Shamari. Josiah, man, you got to step your game up, man, because you went from being a guy seeing the field again as a true freshman. We didn't see it last year, really. So I would be curious to see where his career goes, but I definitely think that we'll see one or the other of this duo, the cornerback duo that they brought in the 2026 class. So Ernest Nunley, who was essentially the final commitment, right? He committed after Kyle Whittingham. He committed, I believe, the day before second signing day. I believe he was visiting a basketball game. He committed at the basketball game, or at least he announced it at the basketball game, and then he signed the next day. I believe that's how that went. Vincent was right after the Ohio State game. So don't know a lot about either of those guys, but we'll be interested to see them this year, because I would put money on we're going to see one or both. Number 2, wide receiver Salesi Moa. Moa could find himself as a starter if he plays his cards right. As a third starter, right? Like, I don't think he's supplanting Andrew Marsh or JJ Buchanan. Can he rise ahead of Jamie French on the depth chart? I think it's possible. French has an extra year of college having done it. Equally highly ranked, just by different services. Moa was a 5-star, according to Rivals. French wasn't technically a 5-star when everything ended, but at the same time, he's ranked number 28 by ESPN, which is 5-star category, right? Just not to ESPN, but if it was 24/7 or Rivals, he would have been a 5-star. Was a 5-star at some point in the process. Both kind of seem like they have a similar, just watching them in the spring game, both have a similar type of style of play, right? Like, capable of getting a lot of yards after catch. I think more people were wowed by Moa. I think the one-handed grab kind of will do that for you. He's going to play. That's the thing, is like, out of the top 10, like I said, the top 5 is kind of the demarcation line. However, number 2 is going to play. And Salesi Moa is going to play. And I think it's just going to be a question of how much can he overcome the typical freshman wall that they tend to hit around fall camp and in the early season. Right? They almost all hit it. Almost always. Right? Like, we talked about Jamar Browder. We did talk about Andrew Marsh last year. How much did we see of them in the early going? We didn't. So I definitely think that he's just got to overcome that. I would not be surprised if he does. He's just got the athleticism that's just unparalleled. So, number 2, Salesi Moa. Finally, our number 1 should not be a big surprise to any. This feels like cheating. This does not feel like, it doesn't even feel like he's a freshman. That's running back Savion Hyder, who, I mean, yes, Jordan Marshall is the starter. Will we see first plays of games where Savion Hyder is the lone back out there? It would not surprise me in the least. Will we see first plays of games with both Savion Hyder and Jordan Marshall out there? Yeah, probably. I think that he gives you so many options. I balk at kind of looking at him kind of in the same vein as you would like a freshman Donovan Edwards. As talented as Edwards was, like, Hyder is more talented. And y'all know I love Dono. That's my guy. I've gotten a lot of criticism for that. But Savion Hyder is going to see the field not only early and often, he's going to be a mainstay, assuming that everything goes to plan. And you can tell not only by what you saw in the spring game, you can tell just by the way they talk about him. The fact that Jason Beck said, like, When you got a guy like that, we have to like evaluate how much can we get him on the field. So Savion Hyder is my number one. I don't think that's a surprising choice whatsoever. I think he's the clear cut number one. I don't know that there's a massive, well, there's maybe a little bit of a gulf between number one and number two, but like I just don't think that it took any kind of deliberation. Like I started the list, I put Savion Hyder right away. I put Savion Hyder and then Salesi right away. And then I was like, okay, let's figure out everyone else. All right, that's going to do it for Tuesday. Wednesday, we're going to, as you're getting accustomed to us having our shows up earlier, we are actually going to be a little bit later tomorrow. We've got Bryce Marich from the Michigan Insider coming on Wednesday, but we're not recording until 2, so you won't see it until like 3:30, 4 o'clock. So, but he is the guest. But just so you know, we will not be out around noon on Wednesday. So anyhow, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We will talk to you again soon. Peace.